Welcome to the Safety and Risk Success podcast with me, Christian Harris. Today I'm joined by Gareth Milner, who I'm not sure what the best way of saying this is other than sets the world to rights when it comes to manual handling and musculoskeletal disorders. Really interesting conversation, very engaging person, and I will give you some recommendations and some links of some books and some other resources that Gareth recommends in the show notes. But I'd listen in, take some notes, and really think about a lot of the stuff Gareth speaks about, particularly around how to get engagement from the senior leadership team and how to get them to be a bit more proactive and preventative, because that to me is what we should be doing more of within the safety profession. It's certainly something that I speak about a lot too. So that's definitely a key takeaway that I'll get you to underscore and take away from this episode with myself and Gareth. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers.
Welcome to the Safety and Risk Success podcast with Christian Harris. We believe that proactive safety and risk management powers business performance. Each week we explore this theme, sharing guests, stories, insights, trends, hints and tips. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, and video versions are available on YouTube. But for now, let's join the conversation with Christian.
Thanks for joining me today, Gareth.
It's great to join you, Christian. I'm excited to, share information about my book, Sorry We're Closed. I'm excited to collaborate with, fellow professionals in this industry across the UK. It's the second podcast we've done in the last few months. So, I'm looking forward to it.
Good stuff. Well, I do one every week, and then I also do guest appearances. So I'm a podcasting semi-pro. So hopefully we'll be right.
Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff.
Cool. So I thought we'd just start with digging back into your kind of origin story in terms of like how you got to where you are. So how did it feel, and what happened at the age of, I think you were 24 when you had kind of a serious injury and that kind of stopped the career you had planned?
Yeah, I went into osteopathy. I was a 19-year-old boy. I just finished school at Dulwich, as we just chatted about. And, I was first thinking about being a chiropractor. I looked at osteopathy, went to the European Osteopathy, had an interview there, went to the osteopathy colleges in London. And I was so excited to start that career. I trained 4 years at the European School in Kent, put my everything into that degree, loved the degree, loved osteopathy. We were sold during the degree from some of the more successful osteopaths that, it was a lucrative career, and they drove in their BMWs, and you were like, yeah, great. I love the profession. And, the fact that it's going to, be, a good, successful career on that side. I had an injury, an accident in 2004. I won't go into it. It was one of those accidents where, as a 24-year-old young lad, you had that type of accident to the head and neck on the rugby pitch during your teens. So basically, it was like, get up and shake it off. Oh, yeah. Later that day, my jaw hurt and my neck was a bit sore. And over the coming months, it got worse. I started to get chronic neck pain every day. And, within a year after I graduated, there was a day I remember at a clinic that I was renting, and I was getting really busy in that clinic, my own small business. Worked at a few associate osteopaths, and I stood in the chemist where I was, marketing the clinic that I was obviously treating patients at. And I was like, my neck I was starting to get pins and needles in the right hand. And right. I was like, shit, this is bad. The neck was really, really painful. And basically I was starting to think, this is a serious neck injury now. And, within, a year, I retired. And basically it was at that stage where, after training 4 years, started to get to the position where being an osteopath I was starting to get, I feel very good, getting busy in the clinics I was at. And yeah, it was at the time absolutely devastating. Look, let's forget the career side of it. The pain was ginormous.
Mm.
People would say to me, "You've got a twitch." And my neck was agony every day. I was taking 6 tramadol a day,
Well,
a lot of anti-inflammatories. I was going relentlessly to osteopaths to try and hold on to the career that I just finished. I went into a mortgage job for a
mm.
year. I learned a hell of a lot in that job, which has given me so many skills. And at the time, I hated it. Now I'm very thankful for it. But it was devastating because
Mm.
I knew that I had a hell of a lot to give to the osteopathic profession. I wanted to own a clinic with multiple disciplines, so acupuncturist, massage therapist, nutritionist, hypnotherapist, blah blah blah. I wanted to really engross myself in the health industry in the UK, but
Yeah.
it wasn't to be. Why was it not to be? Don't know. Maybe in my career, I've helped far more people than I would have helped in clinic.
Mm.
Hopefully, thousands of people over the 18 years I've been in this industry through my business, especially.
Yeah.
A little
And
bit
so,
of background there.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I had a bad injury which kind of inspired me into safety as well. I was run over by a car that lost control and mounted the curb. And that's kind of what got me interested in
What
safety.
did
So,
that leave? What did that leave you with? You fractured
uh,
collarbone and neck.
yeah, yeah, basically, yeah, collarbone, wrist, ankle, and accelerated wear, damage to my neck, and then yeah, cuts and scrapes and
Person was
scars.
probably
And
on a mobile phone, no doubt.
they don't believe that she was on a mobile phone. What it was kind of walking towards a T junction, and the belief is, I think, that she accelerated to like get through the red light, if you know what I mean. And then I think I don't remember it was all blackout to me, but my wife remembers it, and she said that she felt as if the driver had tried to press the brake, but instead pressed the accelerator, if that makes sense, in a panic, and then kind of accelerate, like rather than sort of braking, almost accelerated faster and faster
Yeah,
towards me, mounted the curb, and yeah, and the rest is
not
history.
nice, not nice. It's at the end of the day, it's an emotional event that we try and push to the back of our minds. Mine was also cumulative. I did a lot of art as a teenager, head down, drawing. I did
Yeah,
every sport from golf, cricket, rugby to football, judo. I remember when I was a teenager, my mum would pick me up, God bless her soul, and I would, be walking out of the judo room, holding my neck and back. I was
right,
only
yeah,
12. So mine was definitely cumulative. Yours was obviously, direct accident. But my
yeah,
accident in 2004 was obviously the real
yeah,
instigator. These
yeah.
days, Christian, what are you left with daily symptoms in your musculoskeletal system?
So I would say my wrist is kind of has never fully recovered its mobility, and some days it's very, very stiff. So one of my favorite pastimes is snooker. I don't know if you've ever played snooker, but when you sort of have to put your hand on the table and bridge over the ball, I'm very weak. I sort of have a struggle to do
Yeah.
that some quite often. I my collarbone feels fine. My neck sort of sometimes is a bit stiff, and yeah, I feel kind of a bit sort of out of alignment sometimes. So
You
I go
have
and see a
treatment.
chiropractor
Oh, you do.
every so
How
often. Yeah.
often? How often?
Well, I have to say I was seeing him fairly regularly, and then I got a better chair in my
Yeah.
home office, and since I've had the better chair, I've been seeing him a lot less frequently. So I've
Yeah.
probably only seen him this calendar year maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I mean, even still though, even though you're suffering less with the chair, I'd still try and go fairly regularly because
Hmm.
you're how old are you? I'm not going to guess your age.
I'm the same similar age to you. I was born in
Yeah, yeah,
82. Yeah.
yeah, you're 82, so you're younger than me. So we're in our 40s now, and there's just a number of things about the 40s, isn't there? Even if you exercise, you can't keep off the tummy.
Yeah.
Even if you try and eat well, you still can't keep off the tummy. And even like, running, I've just been doing a bit of running in the cold recently, and my right leg is twinging around the ITB, which is the side tendon on the knee, and you can't stop these things. We're at an
Yeah.
age now where our body is past its best, but at the end of the day, these injuries, this is what, I go on about every week for 14 years with my business and 3.5 years in a previous company. I go on and on to health and safety professionals, that a lot of them, Christian, who have not suffered these injuries.
Yeah.
I really try and get across them that they need to give a damn about, putting as much as they can with the limits of their investment from their CEOs, procurement, and finance directors. They need to take it seriously, and they need to understand that people can go home with, yes, they want people to go home alive. We were at a factory once for a major food company, and we had to stop the 3-day course that we were doing, where we were qualifying manual handling instructors and risk assessors, and we had to stop the course because some poor chap lost his life because a load of pallets fell on him. And this is
Wow.
a major food company. I won't mention the name because they'll sue us. Anyway, but basically, that seems to be obviously the only focus of many health and safety professionals. The NEBOSH osteoplaners have a hell of a lot to call upon to improve the knowledge of musculoskeletal disorders in health and safety professionals, because so many out there across the UK, they think they know a lot, and then you ask them a couple of questions and immediately you're like, oh my God, they know hardly anything about the subject. There's a massive massive knowledge gap. And that's where my book that was published, Sorry We're Closed, in 2022, that's there for health and safety professionals to read, to plug that gap. And so that they can, yes, call upon us when they feel that's needed, but obviously to do a lot using just that book only to manage musculoskeletal disorder risk better.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same as my book on slip safety. Well, yeah, we're not going to get into that now, but the idea is to plug that gap. Interesting that you say that point about the lack of knowledge, because I see that as well in my area, and the analogy that I've used over the years, and I think is quite apt, is a medical one, so you'll probably like it, which is that your health and safety manager is like a GP. So
Yeah,
they're sitting there in their office if they're a GP. Hopefully, health and safety manager isn't just sitting in their office; they're out and about doing stuff. But the analogy goes that you're sitting there, and every 20 minutes, someone walks through the door with a problem, and it could be from one end of the spectrum to the other. You've got no idea what that problem might be, and you've got to be able to diagnose what that problem is. But you're not an expert in treating the problem. And I think sometimes a little knowledge can be dangerous. So that's where
yeah,
you need the surgeon, which is the likes of me in my area, you in your area. You need
yeah,
somebody with that specialist knowledge on how to actually treat it. Yes, you can diagnose it, but if you try, if a GP tried to treat certain things, they can treat certain things, of course, but
yeah,
as
yeah,
soon as
yeah.
it strays a little bit beyond the kind of very simple stuff, then they're not going to be able to do it.
And we can't know everything about everything, can we?
Hmm.
That's and the thing is, in any career, you have odd parts of it that you gain a specific interest in, and you focus on. You have more interest; it's more resonant with you. But yeah, I mean, they are GPs. Many out there are honest in that, but many aren't. And I'll give you one example. We ask, many when we're starting to get into conversations. Well, it's those that try and, when I speak to them, that they push you off the phone. There's this cold caller on the phone, blah blah blah, and we obviously promote our business through the normal channels these days, social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, email, mail shots. But when people have showed interest, we do make calls. Sometimes you get those health and safety managers that think they know it all, and then they're giving objection after objection after each question, relevant questions that are professionally put. Then
Hmm.
I get to the question, okay, Jim, for example, uh, you mentioned to me that you're a qualified manual handling instructor. You've been doing it 20 years. How would you teach a squat lift? What about the position of a feet? What about the amount of hip and knee bending? What about the grip? What about the head and neck position? What about the basic mini risk assessment you do? But Christian, the main focus is, what is that base of support? Where are your feet
Hmm.
positioned? My God, Not one, trust me, not one in 14 years has got it right,
Yeah.
bar the ones that have been on our courses. And, then you say to them, okay, look, one foot in front of the other. Have you seen my blog post challenging HSC guidance? Have you seen where one foot in front of the other puts the pelvis out of alignment and puts the lumbar spine in the last fifth lumbar joint on the pelvis out of alignment? It puts it in a bend of a twist, which is the prime position for a disc herniation or prolapse. But, those ones that are closed, you can never,
Yeah.
push on with the conversation or develop any interest. That's the end of the call. But,
Hmm.
that's a classic thing that they just go with what the HSC say is in the guidance for lifting guidance. And it's so, so wrong. My blog out there for all health and safety professionals across the UK is a must read, challenging HSC guidance on safer lifting. And, that's something that really just shows straight away that even the know-it-alls, the ones that know it all, as they say, they know very little about this subject, I should say.
Yeah. 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 Well, yeah, it's that classic thing of you know, if you are if your knowledge is some dough and you want to make a pizza out of it, to make it as big as wide as possible, it's going to be very, very flat. Whereas if you want to make a sword out of it, then actually it's going to be very, very deep, but it's
It's a
not going to
good
be very
one.
wide.
Well, you sound
So
like you've read books like Made to Stick,
I have
analogies.
I haven't
Have
read
you
that
ever
book, no,
read?
but I like a good analogy. I think a
Yeah.
good analogy is the best way of trying to get something
Metaphors,
home. So
analogies really make you understand it without doubt. So
yeah,
that
so
people can read that book. Made to Stick is a book by Dan Heath and Chip Heath, two American brothers. We've read it religiously recently. And a lot of my blog posts these days are really worked with their success acronym and simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional stories. And
okay.
all my blog posts these days are working on that framework to make ideas stick. So anyway, that's a
Yeah.
quick aside. Anyway,
Oh, nice. I'll check that out. I'll check that out because yeah, anything that makes these subjects kind of stick, makes them resonate, makes them interesting is really important. And that was one of the things actually that I was keen to talk to you about because obviously your book and the article that you sent to me are all really about how to not all about, but a lot of the messaging is about how to make this interesting, how to get people to buy into it, how to get people to be proactive, how to release the funding, and so on and so forth. So I thought maybe we could talk a bit about that. So, how do you see how difficult is that, I suppose, as a starting point?
I think people just like in the health and safety professionals, they need to jump out of their comfort zone. They need to look at like open. I assume you're referring to the open the CEO's wallet.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's for me, the traction on this has been brilliant already. We had a health and safety professional at Network Rail contact us only last week, and we've been speaking to him over the last 3 or 4 months. And it was great. The starting point of that conversation, Christian, he was literally excited because he's been talking about, consultancy for risk assessment for manual handling and ergonomics with us. And he's been talking about upskilling the workforce with bespoke, task-specific, simply pitch training with our occupational osteopaths. But he started the conversation with, Gareth, I've been able to open the CEO's wallet. And I was like, awesome. That's getting traction, that essay now, or blog, or whatever you want to call it. And this is a 62-page essay that's in the new edition of Sorry We're Closed, which is published in January. And it's there for health and safety professionals to come out of their comfort zone and stop doing the mundane presentations to procurement, finance managers, and directors. Oh, we've got this problem. We've lost 30 days recently from manual hand accidents. We've got a claim that's about 15 grand coming up, and what's the task? Oh, the task is this task on the factory floor. Done. That ain't gonna shift any money out of a CEO's pocket. They've seen it all before. There's no emotion there. What two of the biggest things in Open the CEO's wallet in the 18-minute presentation that it comes up to after all the setting the knowledge for it. Obviously, my 18-minute presentation is my ideas, but people can come up with their own. But two jaw-dropping moments. I think, imagine doing this. You've got three directors, one the CEO, one the procurement manager, one the finance manager in a room, big screen. They've got their coffee all ready for the health and safety managers, health and safety professional presentation. During it, they get up to, I can't remember what minute it is, but it's around minute 14. And the health and safety professional brings up a grisly picture of a prolapsed disc, a Google image with a surgery of a disc that's been operated, probably from a cadaver, a dead body. So basically, that's grisly in itself. And then literally, they've got donuts in boxes. And before the night before, they've squeezed some jam in those donuts. So those donuts are as plump as they get. The jam is bursting out of the hole. And they've got, each director has got a box with a donut. They don't know it's a donut. The health and safety manager says, punch down on that box, guys, ladies. And they punch down on it. Hopefully they don't get any jam on their nice, £1,000 suits or whatever like that. But basically they open the box and then they come across this box covered with jam. And then literally say, that is what happens to your discs when you lift with a forward bend, a heavy object that you don't know how to lift properly. People talk about properly, that's not for this podcast, but we talk about optimal technique these days, basic biomechanics, using the body in its maximal power, putting strain across the body, but mostly the load weight strain through the legs, obviously. But, that's a jaw-dropping moment. That's something really different, unique. That will get into their heads. The disc, when it obviously prolapses, the jam, the nucleus in the middle of the disc in the lower back, it bursts out. Where does it burst out, Christian? Onto the spinal nerves and the spinal cord. Agony. I've treated people in clinic that have walked in, mainly guys, hobbling in. They need to be lied on their side, talking about the onset of the injury. You hear that they're getting shooting pains down the leg. You calm down the pain with electrotherapy, maybe some acupuncture needles and some basic cranial technique, soft tissue manipulation. You send them off to A&E. Anyway, that's the jaw-dropping moment, one of them. The next jaw-dropping moment is, you've got an X-ray of someone's hip, ball on ball. You literally, the health and safety professional will whack their bones together like that. That's what happens in your hips. And literally, they reach down for a bucket and then tip 320 tablets onto the tables that all fall off around the CEO's finance manager and procurement manager. Something different. If I was to have that and see that many tablets that a person with chronic pain would take every month, that will get in their heads. And all these sorts of things in it are getting in those directors' heads to think, do you know what? We earmarked that 15 grand for the canteen. We were wanting the nice canteen. People have talked about it. And do you know what? It clearly needs to go on the back burner. That 15 grand, it needs to go on that risk assessment. It needs to go on that training. I hear they've got a product called DigiTrain. That means we can qualify our own instructors and get our manual handling training done much more regularly so people change their habits. So we reduce the chances of those debilitating injuries. And once someone has a prolapsed disc, Christian, there's no going back. Their back is screwed for the rest of their life. They're in misery. It will destroy people's relationships, lives. It may lead to alcohol addiction, drug addiction, marijuana. It will ruin their lives. And that's this new blog post is, hopefully going to change for hundreds, if not thousands of health and safety professionals, their strategy to open the CEO's wallet.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's something I talk about a lot is how to try to make safety kind of sexier and sell it better and be better at influencing people. Because
it can be made that way.
No, exactly. I love those two ideas. So have you done those? Have you done those two things or?
Well, it's not for me. It's obviously for them to do, isn't it? Look, I'm going to be honest. I've never done a pitch to a director to open their wallet. But how many pitches have I done to health and safety professionals over 18 years?
Thousands.
And how many books have I read about communication, persuasion, sales, keeping ideas simple, making ideas stick? I've read so many recently. Jordan Belfort's Way of the Wall Straight Line Selling. That's key part of this essay. I've looked at so many sales and persuasion and making ideas stick. Communication books, Talk Like TED. We've mentioned Made to Stick by the Chip and Dan Heath brothers. Also, what was the other one we looked at? We got Where the Wall, Talk Like Ted, Made to Stick. Upstream's an important book that people should read. Directors should buy that. That's by that Dan Heath as well, the same author as Made to Stick. Upstream's a great book in looking at preventing ideas, the upstream approach to preventing problems. I don't know if I said it wrongly, but upstream's about preventing problems before they happen, the upstream approach. And that is a very, very good book that directors should read in, not having that reaction, that reactive approach that is going to, cover over it's going to be the Band-Aid. It's going to be the reactive approach to problems, preventing them. In manual handling risk management, it really doesn't need a huge amount of investment. Yes, there's equipment, there's task redesign, which can cost more, but simple basic training with, say, occupational osteopaths like ours, making risk assessments, putting in some of those cheaper risk reduction solutions, that doesn't cost that much money. And that's a key thing that, we want directors to be aware of.
Yeah. So in your field then, let's say somebody is a bit more reactive and they go, and you engage them a bit and they go away and they can open the CEO's wallet and they start to be a bit more preventative and go upstream, as you said. What's the sort of lagging time, I suppose? Because obviously the injury that presents itself tomorrow is not necessarily caused tomorrow. It's been caused in a period of time before that. What's the sort of latent issue, I suppose, of the size and scope of that we're facing?
Firstly, I was speaking to I don't know yesterday, but a health and safety manager said to me, "Yeah, we've got this employee. They've got a herniated disc. They've been off 3 weeks, and that's what stimulated our call today to you." And they said to me, "Oh, but he didn't tell us he had the injury." One of the key things that I talk about in Sorry We're Closed, my book, is companies, if they've got a job, Christian, that involves regular manual handling. Let's talk about the food industry. I always say, look, people that work in food factories, they're not end-of-line worker or they're not, warehouse supervisor. No, they are a manual handling operative. Okay, manual handling operative, manual handling employee, whatever. That's their job. So one of the things that I think all companies should do is invest in assessing people. Just like, look, when you see a new football player going to a new club, what do you support?
They do their medical, yeah.
What team do you support?
Kettering Town is my team, so we don't get any of this new fancy stuff.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. You support a club, not just like me. I'm Tottenham Hotspur, but we still haven't won anything for years. Anyway, but basically, I remember Timo Werner, one of the most recent additions. He had his medical assessment before. Talking about a young guy who's probably not got much wrong with him, but that medical assessment could have stopped major loss because they would have bought him at so many millions, and he wouldn't have played much. And so even for, the manual handling operatives who are on 22, 23 grand a year or whatever, they should all be assessed, for musculoskeletal disorders, not with a nurse, not with a medical doctor. They have their place. Doctors we know are, especially the ones that go into occupational health, they will be general practitioners. So they're going to know a little bit about a lot. Nurses have their roles for administering medications in hospitals. For a lot of nurses know a lot more than recently trained doctors. They really do. But when it comes to musculoskeletal disorders, they're not experts at all. They're as far as you get it as Pluto is from this planet. A little analogy there. So, occupational osteopaths should be used to assess people and see, look, are there any musculoskeletal injuries? We did a musculoskeletal disorder assessment and medico-legal report for a major removal company in London a year or so ago. And the guy had a major chronic shoulder injury, and he was off months last year. We went in, did the assessment, medico-legal report in the inbox within a week, all copied into the managers. He was back to work the next day. And, they should have just invested in, some form of service to screen people. But look, if you're talking about injuries, you can get the onset of a prolapsed disc. Someone with potentially, like I interviewed 7 guys in Sorry We're Closed, you can get some people who have prolapse discs in one go, boom. They've got a back that's okay. They lift a really heavy load in a really awkward position and boom, it goes. Okay. But look, generally doesn't happen like that. They've had a build up, let's say over 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And, they've had more increased incidences of, back spasms where they're in bed for a week or basically they've been off of work. But, you're talking generally a number of years that build up of a spinal injury will happen. But look, when was COVID? I hate saying COVID, when was 2020?
5 years ago now, wasn't it?
5 years ago. Phenomenal that time, how quick it's gone for us all. That time, those guys, those women that are on the warehouse floor, on the factory floor, they say were 35 then. Scan most of those who've had very little manual handling training, who've had very little investment into reducing their musculoskeletal disorder risks. They will be on the phone or near picking up that mobile phone, speaking to that no win, no fee legal shark, and they will be talking about their manual handling claim. And look, in Sorry We're Closed, the smallest claims I saw, Christian, were £30,000. Mm-hmm. It's going to go on a lot of companies' public liability insurance, but that will hit them. Their premiums will go up. We all have it, don't we? When we have a driving accident, our premiums go up. So, it's over a number of years, probably 4 or 5 years, especially those injuries are going to build up.
Yeah. And there's a couple of things. I mean, insurance is an interesting one because people have this kind of, if you don't understand how insurance works, people have this kind of perception of, oh, it's okay, my insurance covers me. But as you say, if you get claims, your premium goes up. So you end up paying for it in the long run anyway.
You're going to pay for
it. And B, not every pound of every claim is recoverable through insurance anyway, because you might have an excess like you do on your car insurance. And I suppose the third thing is that people kind of miss, especially with what you do. It happens in my field as well, but it's less, I think, it's more frequent in what you do. Even if you're a manual handling operative and you're on 25, 30 grand a year, if you suffer an injury and it basically means that you can't work anymore, that claim can be astronomical because you're having to pay for that person's salary for the rest of their life,
Well, but it won't last the rest of their life, sadly, for that person. 160 grand was what one guy in Sorry We're Closed who I interviewed won. He would have spent that by now. He would have booked his all-inclusive holiday to the Maldives, as I say in the book. He would have probably bought himself a nice car as some sort of boost to the mental side. So, and then, he's 4 or 5 years, he spent it. Where is he at? He's on the dole. He's earning enough money to buy pedigree chum for his dog. Nothing more than that. So maybe he'll be eating pedigree chum himself. So
let's hope not.
Let's hope not. But basically, the claim levels can go up to much higher than that, but that's when you're a vegetable. That's when you've got tetraplegia, you've had spinal surgery, say on the neck. That's one of the things that I start Sorry We're Closed with. When I was 27, 6, 7, I went to a neurosurgeon in a hospital in London, in Tooting. And I sat down with the surgeon. I was in a lot of pain, still probably taking less tramadol because it was improving, but still very badly. Still very bad. And I said to him, Matthew, okay, tetraplegia. Because I'm an osteopath, I learned all about paraplegia, tetraplegia. I said to him, what's the likelihood? And he went, Gareth, I've seen it. I went, okay, on your watch, Matthew? He went, yeah. Got up. I didn't say any more, Christian. Shook his hand. I said, Matthew, thank you for your time. And I walked out. And there might have been the odd word pleasantry after that. Can't remember, but it was pretty quick because I didn't want to waste his time. There was no chance I was going down decompressive surgery in my neck. They would go through the neck. They'd pull apart all the muscles, all the blood vessels. Let's hope they have had their coffees and not just come back from a holiday in Australia and jet lagged. Once you get to that point, you get to the disc area. They've got to remove all the disc. They've got to chisel away at the nerve. All going well, surgery has gone well, then there's a chance that there's a bacteria that's got in there. Once you get bacteria in there, good luck. The risk of tetraplegia with neck surgery, they're there. And, the claim levels for tetraplegia are huge, but you're going to be just like when we go to care homes and nursing groups, I've seen people who are vegetables. They're lying in the bed, they're watching TV all day, they can hardly move their arms, they're hoisted everywhere. That's the life that some people will have through prolapse discs, who disc injuries in the neck. It's rare that you prolapse a disc in the neck, Christian. That's generally from an RTA, a bad RTA, if you survive. But if you've got a chronic neck injury like mine, luckily mine's copable these days through all the rehab and exercise I do, blah, blah, blah. Basically, but once you've had surgery in the neck, there's no guarantee it will improve. But, there's high chance that tetraplegia would happen. But look, the amounts of claims that I saw in Soil Close was 160 grand. So that's going to be spent really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you can get through it very quickly if you're not careful, which is a shame. And I suppose that's one potential negative of the UK court system, where we don't have those kind of punitive damages like you do in the US, because your 160k here, it would probably be 16 million in the US, and it's a bit harder to spend 16 million.
Well, the thing is, though, in some ways, it's a good thing that claims aren't done, so much in the UK, because they would be all the time. But, that might be around the corner. Look how much we've adopted from America over the years. Malta, where I go with the business where we're registered now, Malta is massively adopted American practices. And, it might only be, a few years away, a decade away, that the insurance side of America, I find it really crazy, isn't it? America sounds such an amazing place to live. But, I hear the stories where people, the sidewalk, as they call them, isn't it? I hope people don't find my American impersonation offensive or too poor. But anyway, so if people in the winter season, if they don't clear the sidewalks or the pavements, and people slipped and break their ankle or whatever, those people that own the houses in front of that sidewalk or that pavement, they can get sued, and it's not even their land. It's mental. But that the culture from America will come. We have Wendy's in England, or maybe we don't, but we have Five Guys in England. I'm sure it won't be too long that we have the insurance claim world that we do. They do in America.
Well, I know the insurers will be hoping that doesn't happen, but we shall see. So if we think about manual handling then, and what you can do to mitigate these risks, how sort of well would you say we're doing in the UK on average? Are we sort of a 3 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10 or
awful? Some companies brilliant, some companies okay, but overall, since COVID especially, awful. The health and safety professional hasn't forgotten about it, Christian, but the directors have. I spoke to one lady at a company called, I won't name them, but they're an agricultural company across the UK, and they supply agricultural products. And basically, she said to me recently, Gareth, it's gone back 30 years. And I was like, in some ways, I was really glad to hear that, Christian, because I've been, saying to the team, I've been saying to Emma every day since 2020, Jesus Christ, what's going on in this risk management market in manual handling MSDs in England? And this lady, really did vouch for my belief that my knowing that, the caring by directors is gone. She said to me, Gareth, it's get the product out. That's all they're interested in. Do you know what? 3 weeks later than that, she'd left that business. Couldn't believe it. She'd gone 3 weeks after. So clearly, many are hitting their heads against a brick wall. Companies, I mentioned HelloFresh. They purchased our product Digitrain a few years ago. They've implemented qualifying instructors with it. They've trained risk assessors. I think from my memory, they had a risk assessor with us. So companies like that, there are companies that care. Pasta Foods have just done a free sites risk assessment. Safina Foods, the group's safety team, she said to me they would uncovering, a can of worms every week. They've just invested 13,000 with us for a bespoke DVD video, 30-minute video, and they qualified 8 risk assessors and manual handling trainers. So there are the companies out there, there are the directors that are opening their wallets and supporting health and safety professionals. But there are so many Christian out there where, we'll go back to them. They've got a problem, they've got some absence, they've got potential claim, they haven't got any manual handling instructors, they've got a 2-day course on the table from us, a £2,200 spend, save £200 with a business credit card or PayPal, and you go back to them and they're like, Gareth, we didn't get the budget. So what the hell are they going to do? They might have this crappy online program with negligent manual handling practices, like many of the names out there, especially one well-known. I nearly said it there, nearly said their name. It's there on our blogs page. You'll see it, everyone. Go on our blogs page. You'll see the insightful educational blog about the UK's most popular online manual handling training provider. You'll see my insightful blog post there about the content there. Anyway, but basically, yeah, a lot of companies, it's at the bottom of the pile, Christian. It shouldn't be. One of the two things that in the book, Sorry We're Closed, the first thing that directors should do is go and do the job task. Go and chuck bags, just like the Virgin Blue crew do down under in Australia. Richard Branson's company Virgin Blue, the directors every month or whatever it was, they go and chuck bags. They go and onto the baggage handling and they chuck bags and they see the jobs that people do. They understand them. They feel on their body at the end of the day what those jobs do. And that, I think every director should do that. I do it with my business. I still go and I do the risk assessments. I do the training, blah, blah, blah. I speak to the team every week about the issues they encounter on sites, but directors, they've got to go and do that. Forget manual handling. Their businesses will be better because they'll learn so many things about the issues and the problems their staff get. But one of the things as well is, we talk about in Sorry We're Closed is if they're a guinea pig like that, they'll suffer an injury. And if they suffer an injury, even if it's for a week where their back goes into spasm, that's great. That's great. Why? Because the employees will benefit because that personal time for that director, that self-interest, because they couldn't play golf that weekend or they couldn't do whatever they wanted to do that was fun, because of that pain, that will open up their emotional centers, that will open up their wallet. So yeah, some companies are really good, a lot in the middle, but the majority just have forgotten about it since 2020. It will reap. They will suffer in the next few years. Their premiums will go up. There'll be big claims.
Yeah. So on that basis, then you've given one strategy, I suppose, there, which is to try and get the directors a bit more involved and see how things are going on. But what would you suggest would be maybe another couple of key ideas that the audience could take away and go and implement to try to get kind of more buy-in and try and get their organizations to take this more seriously?
I think one of the key things is, like I've mentioned in Open the CEO's Wallet, is, there's 2 books out there that the directors should read. One, Upstream. Okay, it's a really, really good book, not just for Upstream by Dan Heath. He's a serial author from America. His books, they're obviously insightful, educational, but especially made to stick is a fun read because it's humorous in parts. But Upstream, it really gets into your head about how to prevent problems before they arise. I can't remember the exact phrase on the title. It's an example of pumping your tires on your car. That's one of the key things that I put in Open the CEO's Wallet, linked with Upstream. How many people, especially women, do not pump the tires on their car and leave it to their men to do it? You can edit that a bit out if you want to, Christian. Anyway, but basically, what's going to happen if you don't pump your tires? You've got more chances of them bursting. You're going to cost more money on your petrol, more chance you're going to have an accident and be involved in a court case, blah, blah, blah. So Upstream, I think, is something that all health and safety managers can go into the CEO's room, as like Emma's brilliant illustration on page 1 on this new essay, and they can go and grab that CEO's Wallet and spend 20 quid on Amazon or whatever book company and buy Upstream and give it to that CEO at that meeting. Because with reading that, they will start to get it into their heads more about, do you know what, with that, I could do this. And those problems might not arise. And so that's a key thing. Upstream by Dan Heath. I think all directors should read it. Two, my book, Sorry We're Closed. They should read it the front to back, maybe 2 times. Listen to the audiobook. We've got an amazing audiobook voiceover artist called Sean Anthony, who does work for like EA Sports and stuff like that. He's turned Sorry We're Closed into a humorous book, I feel, in parts, but make no mistake, it's a super serious book, Sorry We're Closed. But Sean Anthony of Sean Anthony VO, his recording of Sorry We're Closed makes a really funny read. The voices he does, it makes it so funny. But all directors just listen to that book and read Upstream. Then they will have that insight into, why this is such an important subject. And let's have a look at it before I stop on this. If employees have manual handling training by an osteopath in their working environment, that between the courses, then the osteopath grabs that person and says, look, Tim, you mentioned to me you had a knee injury. Audrey, you mentioned to me you had that frozen shoulder. You can do this for that. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about, going to see an osteopath? Have you thought about, having a TENS for the chronic pain? Have you thought about buying yourself a little portable ultrasound unit? Have you done those exercises? That will go down so well with employees. They'll be like, do you know what? They really actually, yes, we've got some difficult manual handling tasks. Yes, I understand they're trying to look into that idea or that equipment. But you know what? That training was the best training we've ever had. It was task specific. It was simply pitched. It was with an osteopath. And they gave me things that I can do that will hardly cost me anything, most free, that will help me get my injury better. And, that's something that we go into the book as well about, how workforce training with, say, physical therapists should be done all the time. Obviously, big companies will need in-house qualified instructors. If you've got 1,000 people, you're not going to train 800 factory workers in short practical workforce sessions, not affordable. But, having physical therapists as the basis for that advice on the factory warehouse, on floor, or on the tarmac of the airport, or on that school maintenance department, wherever employees are, physical therapists need to have that chance to spread optimal handling techniques. And that's something in my blog post, Challenging HSC Guidance, I go into.
Yeah. Good stuff. So wrapping things up then, Gareth, just quickly, perhaps you could give, if this is resonating with people, quick overview of, and you've touched on parts of it, but kind of exactly what you guys do as a business and how you can help to solve this problem. And then what's the best next step and how can people get in touch?
I mean, yes. Just before I talk briefly about what we do, I'll give you a quick example. Those ones that know it all, the health and safety professionals are, oh, you're just another manual handling training company. I remember when I started the business, Christian, people say, what do you do the business? So I said, oh, I'm an osteopath, but I've gone into teaching people, delivering manual handling courses. And they go, oh, you teach people how to lift. We're not a manual handling training company. We're a company that has a basis in physical therapy, osteopaths, physios, but we're a company that's here to target zero musculoskeletal disorders. If I summarize the business, that's what we're about. Okay. Yeah. So how do we do that? How do we target zero musculoskeletal disorders? Firstly, all basis of this should be risk assessment, as you know. Assessing, I saw one of your posts today where some guy went up on a ladder and fell off some metal container. My God, you almost wish that wasn't real. But yeah, all manual handling, target zero aim of MSD should be through risk assessment. We had a company makes food in England. My God, you should have seen this task. The guy was carrying a 25 kilogram bag of pasta from a machine at shoulder height, 10 minutes to walk, lowering it to a pallet. 3,000 bags a day, Christian. 3,000 bags a day. The health and safety manager was doing his best to open the CEO's wallet and change that equipment. Good luck to him. But,
Mm.
basically that CEO needs to do that job, needs to do
Yeah.
it for a day, as I talked about. So we could go in there, deliver manual handling training, make no effect with that job. No effect. I'm honest about that. You know, some companies, some companies with certain army soldiers and personal trainers as their heads. I've just written a blog about that company, which is massive insight into this industry. It's called Not As Pristine As You're Led to Believe. For those of you who watch it and use that company, you've got to read the entirety of that 5-part series. But companies like that will go on about manual handling training, manual handling training. No, risk assessment and ergonomic assessment first, risk reduction solutions in your inbox. Sit down, read those reports, investigate the risk reduction solutions, sit down with your CEO, invest in manual handling equipment or anything that's going to reduce the rate of injuries with job rotation, task redesign, whatever it is, risk assessment, it starts with that. That's a key of what we provide. We provide bespoke courses that qualify instructors and risk assessors, bespoke courses that upskill the workforce in 1, 2, or 3 hours. We provide musculoskeletal disorder assessments and medico-legal reports for people who have legitimate injuries and the fakers and the fox malingerers, as I say in Sorry My Clothes. And with the cost of living these days, Christian, as we all know, there will be so many more fakers that will come out of their fakers hole. What else do we provide as in expertise? Our products ecosystem. Look, in 2020, I got down into making products. We published our manual handling DVD products available as a USB box set. I should have done that earlier, but that's where the business was at. I felt that still we wanted to focus on bespoke training and risk assessments, but we've got a whole ecosystem of videos, DVDs, USB box sets, trademark Digitrain. One of the gate products we provide, bespoke DVD. If you Google us, rewind, Gareth. If you Google bespoke manual handling DVD with gold and silver, which I'm really proud of, Christian, on Google for
Nice.
bespoke manual handling training DVD. We've just completed one for that major abattoir company, Safina Foods, and we don't shirk from those tasks. We filmed a product in probably the most grisly of environments across the UK. So our bespoke provision is a no-brainer for health and safety professionals. Yes, it comes across as expensive. What is it compared to one of those big claims? Those 160 grand claims, it's 5 to 10%. It's nothing. It's a no-brainer for all health and safety, all companies with major manual handling tasks, for all group safety managers, responsible managers on their watch to have a bespoke manual handling video. It's a no-brainer for a product. What else? So we've got a products ecosystem, core services ecosystem of courses and risk assessment. And we're real experts out there with physical therapists. So, you get a lot of companies out there across the UK who do bits of what we do.
Yep.
Some claim to be experts. I can only think of one company that I used to work for that is an expert in this subject other than us, who did a good provision for this. So for me, there's only 2 companies that have got this provision as expert provision across the UK. And we're the only one with a published book, which suggests that, we're an authority in this subject.
Yeah. Good stuff. And is LinkedIn a good place for someone to contact you if they'd like to learn a bit more?
Yeah, just connect. Send us an invitation to connect. Call us on our mobile number, on our 0845 number. I don't bite. One of the things that you would have noticed, Christian, especially since 2020, is people are scared of talking to people on the phone. Look, I'm a normal guy. I'm serious in this business. I'm serious at preventing musculoskeletal disorders, but I'm easy to deal with, and just pick up the phone, have a chat with me. One of the things that I always ask, at the end of long calls is, Christian, name one fun thing you're doing this evening. And that's who I am. I'm an approachable guy who is serious at helping health and safety professionals to stop this being a problem. But yeah, send us an invitation to connect, drop us an email for our website, call us on our 0845 number. I'm available 5 days a week. Rare that I'm off, sadly. And I'm there to support safety professionals to make this a problem of the past.
Good stuff. Well, thanks, Gareth. Really enjoyed chatting to you, and keep up the good work. And thank you to you guys for joining Gareth and I in this episode, and we'll see you again on the next one.
Again, thanks for this opportunity, Christian. It's great to be part of this. Yeah, I wish you well in your business forever long.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, Christian. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Safety and Risk Success podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit follow and do share on social media. Does anyone you know spring to mind as a great guest, even yourself? If so, please contact us on podcast@slipsafety.co.uk. See you next week for another episode.